Summer solstice arrives quietly even though it marks the longest day of the year. It does not announce itself loudly. The light lingers just a little bit longer, shadows thin out, the sun appears to pause at its highest point before beginning its slow descent. This moment, when daylight reaches its peak, has been observed, honored, and ritualized across cultures for thousands of years. It is not simply a seasonal marker, but it is a reminder of time's rhythm and the delicate balance between abundance and impermanence. Unlike modern calendar holidays that rush towards celebration and consumption, the summer solstice asks for attention. It invites us to notice what has grown and what has now requires tending fields rather than planting. In agricultural societies, this was a moment of both gratitude and vigilance. The crops were at their tallest, the fields were at their fullest, but the work was far from finished. The solstice does not mark an ending, but a turning of a subtle shift from expansion towards preservation. Today, the summer solstice is often framed as a festival of joy, light, and warmth, and this is a fair framing. But beneath the brightness lies a different truth. This is the point at which the sun begins to go away. The longest day also contains the first whisper of shortened light. To honor the summer solstice fully is to hold both realities at once. Celebration and awareness, fullness and change, without trying to simplify either one. This video explores the meaning of the summer solstice, its historical and spiritual significance, the symbols and associations, and ways it can still be honored meaningfully in the modern world. In a sense of astronomy, the summer solstice occurs when the sun reaches its highest point in the sky relative to the Earth's equator, and this results in the longest period of daylight in the year for each hemisphere. In the northern hemisphere, this typically falls around June 20th or June 21st. The word solstice itself comes from the Latin solstitium, meaning sun standing still. This reflects the moment when the sun's apparent movement pauses before reversing direction. The pause is not dramatic, but it is profound. Ancient peoples tracked the solstice with remarkable precision. They built monuments and calendars aligned to the sun's position. And these were not abstract achievements, they were also survival tools. They knew that when the sun reached the heights, it helped communities predict seasons, manage agriculture, and align ritual life with environmental reality. The summer solstice marks a climax rather than a beginning. It is the apex of solar power. It is the moment when the light is the most dominant. And from this point forward, even though summer continues, the days gradually shorten. And this dual nature of peak light paired with the beginning of the decline of light has shaped how the solstice has been understood across cultures. Across the ancient world, the summer solstice was a sacred turning point. In Northern Europe, it was associated with fertility, growth, and the generative power of the land. In Norse traditions, the solstice became entwined with celebrations of fire, protection, and communal bonding. And these practices later evolved into what is now known as Midsummer. In Celtic traditions, the solstice was closely tied to solar deities and the strength of the sun as life giver. Stone circles and standing stones were positioned to capture the solstice light. This emphasized the belief that at this moment, this carries heightened spiritual potency. Fire plays a central role as well. It's not as destruction, but as a reflection of the sun's energy brought down to earth. In ancient Rome, the solstice was associated with Vesta, the goddess of the hearth, and with the maintenance of sacred flame. In Egypt, the rising of Sirius near the solstice coincided with the flooding of the Nile. This linked celestial cycles to life-sustaining abundance. And across these cultures, the solstice was not just observed, it was integrated into systems of meaning, labor, and reverence. In spite of these cultural differences, the common themes emerge: light at its strongest, life in full bloom, and a responsibility that comes with abundance. The solstice is a reminder that prosperity must be guarded and not taken for granted. Spiritually, the summer solstice represents illumination, both literal and metaphorical. It is associated with clarity, revelation, and conscious awareness. What has been growing beneath the surface is now visible, and there is little room for concealment in full daylight. And at the same time, the solstice teaches restraint, because it marks a turning point towards shorter days. It reminds us that excess, if unchecked, leads to imbalance. And many traditions understood this intuitively. They frame the solstice as a time to honor strength without succumbing to arrogance, joy, or denial of change. Symbolically, the solstice is tied to themes of sovereignty and responsibility. The sun embodies authority, but not permanence. And this makes the solstice a powerful moment for reflection on leadership, self-direction, and the ethical use of power, whether it's personal or collective. It is also a time associated with liminal spaces, though in a different way than other festivals. The solstice exists at a threshold between increase and decrease, between outward growth and inward preparation. It holds tension rather than resolving it, and this is a moment that is suited for making conscious choices. The summer solstice is traditionally associated with gold, green, and white. The gold represents the sun at its most radiant, vitality, and creative forces. It symbolizes success, illumination, and the culmination of effort. Gold is not simply bright, it is earned light, the result of sustained growth and labor. Green reflects the living world in full expression. It is the color of fertility, renewal, and interconnectedness. At the solstice, green represents not beginnings, but continuity, the ongoing process of care, nourishment, and balance required to sustain life. And white is associated with clarity, purification, and conscious awareness. In the context of the solstice, white symbolizes truth brought into the open, intentions made visible, and the stripping away of unnecessary complexity. It is light without distortion. Together, these colors express abundance, held with mindfulness, a visual language for growth tempered by awareness. Honoring the summer solstice today does not require historical reenactment or a rigid ritual. What matters is alignment with the values that the solstice embodies: awareness, gratitude, balance, and intentional living. Many people mark the solstice by spending time outdoors, especially at sunrise or sunset, acknowledging the sun's role in sustaining life. This can be as simple as mindful observation. You can stand in the light, notice the warmth, breathe it in, and enjoy the presence of it. But fire is also a powerful symbol. Lighting a candle or making a small fire can serve as a focal point for reflection. This represents both the sun's strength and the responsibility that accompanies it. Fire is not only celebratory, it is refining. And this is also a good time for assessment. What has grown well in your life? What requires tending rather than expansion? What has reached its peak and must now be maintained or released? These questions align with the solstice's deeper rhythm. Acts of generosity and gratitude are especially fitting. Historically, abundance was shared at this time. This reinforces communal bonds. In modern contexts, this might take the form of creative sharing, mutual support, or simply acknowledging the labor, seen and unseen, that has brought you to this point. The summer solstice does not ask us to cling to the light, but to honor it while it lasts. In a culture that often equates brightness with permanence and success with endless expansion, the solstice offers a gentler, wiser lesson. It shows us that cycles are not failures and that decline does not negate abundance, it completes it. To stand within the longest day is to accept that all things move and that meaning is not found in resisting change, but in meeting it with awareness. Whether observed through ritual, reflection, or quiet acknowledgement, the summer solstice remains a living moment, one that connects us to ancient rhythms while speaking directly to modern lives shaped by transition and choice. All right, my stars, now I ask you, what does the summer solstice represent to you, and how do you honor moments of abundance in your own life? I really look forward to reading your comments. And until next time, I appreciate you spending part of your day with me. And until the next video, stay safe, stay creative, and stay spellbound.